Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Soul Goals Podcast. I'm Dawn, and I'm so glad you're joining me today. This podcast is dedicated to bringing people's stories to light and hearing their journeys of inspiration and self-growth. But it's also about connection and knowing that you are not alone. Each week, I get the chance to sit down and talk with an amazing soul, someone I've had the blessing of either meeting or following in my life. I am so grateful for my guests. Their openness and their vulnerability, it is unmatched as we share heartfelt conversations together about both their challenges and their triumphs. I hope that you can grab some inspiration and connection from my guests and their stories. I know I certainly have with each conversation. What an honor to sit with these brave souls. Everyone has a story, folks. And every story matters. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Soul Goals. I am Dawn, and today I have the extreme pleasure of reconnecting and talking to one of the best people that I've met. I met Jamie O'Neill back in the day when we were schlepping weights and lifting stuff and working out together. I don't want to say... That's right, right?
That's right.
Yeah. I don't want to say how many years ago that was because it would date both of us. We're females, and we're just not going to go there. Other than the fact that before I hit the record, we were just talking about like how much females have on them and the stress of all of the roles that we have to play. So yeah. You've withstood the test of time beautifully, my friend.
You are so sweet. Well, I can say this. I think my single came out in 2000 and we were working out, getting ready for that first release. So it is around 23 years ago.
Oh, that's right. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Okay. Jump the gun here. Jamie O'Neill, 2 number 1 singles back to back. My favorite of both of them is There Is No Arizona. And that's when we were working together. And I remember going to your number 1 party. That was so fun. And my husband came as well. You've seen so many people, you probably don't remember any of it, but he had such a ball. And the people that we got to meet while we were there, it was great. Those
parties are fun.
Yeah. Yes.
Can't get enough number 1 parties. Those are always a dang good time.
Yes. And yours is no exception. No exception at all.
Thank you.
You went on after that to number 1 with When I Think About Angels, which again is a great song. But again, I'm going to go back to that original one. You were a songwriter on both of those, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I've been a songwriter on most of my hits, if you will, and had some outside cuts too. So that's been really exciting.
Okay. So tell me, because I know that you've had your hand in songwriting for a number of years, obviously with your own music, but tell me some of the other people that you've penned for.
Well, before my song came out, my first single, I was on a songwriting camp and met Tommy Sims, and we had an amazing write together, and we wrote a song that CeCe Winans ended up cutting.
Oh,
so I think that was my first outside cut, and man, that felt amazing because I'm a huge CeCe Winans fan. I mean, her voice. I feel like I've been super lucky because everyone who's cut one of my songs has been an incredible singer. Idina Menzel.
Yes.
My songs, and to hear her voice on it, it was a real bluesy song. And then Martina McBride cut How Far.
You wrote that.
Yeah, which was incredible for me. Oh my God. Can I say, Martina has been, when I was in Australia, I was buying her albums, listening to her.
Oh.
And so she's like one of my favorite people, one of my favorite artists. Yeah. Someone to watch on stage and aspire to be like. I just think she's just incredible and a great human.
Yes.
And Reba has cut a song. Leanne Rimes has cut something. And
gosh.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. That may be all. It's all, incredible females.
Well, do you think and you and your husband have a daughter who was because she's in college. She's a college sophomore. So yeah, that makes us, and I have a college junior.
The same age.
Yes, I know. It makes us officially Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Officially past middle age.
There we go. That's a really great way to say it. I like that. I'm going to
We
go
have
with that.
lived a lot of life.
Yes, we have. And with a lot of life comes a lot of lessons, obviously. But I want to ask you, still kind of in that songwriting thing, since we just started jumping in and talking about it. Like, I've heard other songwriters talk about them being their children, like the songs are their babies. Do
That
you
always
look at them?
when people say that, they don't usually have kids.
Okay.
You know what I mean? When they're like, "Oh, they're my little song babies," I'm like, "Please,
Have a child.
have a child. You will not be saying that. Okay, it's a song. Let it go. Let it
Yes.
go. It's just
I
a song."
love that. Okay. Perfect.
Um,
Perfect. Well, you
yeah.
were born in Australia.
Mhm.
And you were born into a highly creative family. If you're, I know this is on YouTube, so people watching it will be able to see behind you. But if you're listening on one of the streaming platforms, you won't be able to see it. But there's a beautiful painting on an easel behind you. And you were telling
Oh
me,
yeah.
yeah, you were telling me that that's your mom's
I
work.
need
That's
to
your
like
mom's
move
work.
over so you can wait. No, I need to be back the other
That
way.
way.
There you go. Now you can see it.
Yeah.
Yes, this painting right here was painted by my mom, who is back in Australia right now. She
Mhm.
comes back and forth between the States and Australia. And she just had her first art showing at Monthaven in Hendersonville. So she was madly painting while she was here for a couple of months and painted about, I don't know, 10 pieces, I guess.
Wow.
So I have a few all around the house that yeah, once the art show is over, actually, it just finished today or
Okay.
last night, yesterday. Yeah, today's the first.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's been very exciting to see her work. I can't even play Pictionary. Nobody wants to play with me because I can't even draw a stick
Okay.
figure.
You and I would be
So,
really great partners together because I can't either. We just have to figure it out. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
But
So it's
she
been
was,
exciting to see her create.
well, yeah, for sure. But she's always been creative. Like that's how you
Mhm.
started in music. Your family is so creative. What was the Murphy family with you and your sister and your mom and dad? Is that
Yep.
where you
And
began your musical roots?
absolutely, yeah. I mean, our parents were on stage and we would watch them. And because we were traveling so many different places, we were like, we're bored sitting side of stage, we're bored waiting in the hotel rooms or whatever it might be. We had an RV as well. If we're going to be out here, we want to be on stage too. So they finally
Mhm.
let us go out on stage. And then once we kind of, I don't know, got the feel, got really just addicted to being up on stage. We were just like, that's it. We're doing it. We're in the act, whether you like it or not.
This is what's happening, folks.
Yeah,
How
exactly.
old were you guys at the time?
6 and 8. I was 8, and my younger sister was 6.
Oh, I love it. What did you play an instrument at that time, or did you guys just come out and sing?
We just came out and sang, and then sometimes I would do tambourine, a little bit of tambourine. Then I morphed that into the cowbell.
Okay.
But yeah, we loved being on stage. It was
Yeah.
so much fun. I mean, we were having fun. We didn't know anything about it being, a job or a career or
Mhm.
anything like that. It was just to us, it was just fun. And I think it still is. I still love being on stage. That's the best part of my job. It's like
Yeah.
you get paid to do all the tough stuff like traveling and being tired and,
Yes.
interviews and getting up early and all those other stuff. All of the other things that come with the job are the
Right.
things that you kind of get paid for, not the
Right.
show itself.
But how beautiful is that for you to still retain that? Like that started as a youngster for you and that really bloomed in you and you're carrying that through your life. And your daughter is a performer as well. She's a singer and a songwriter too, correct?
She is, yes, she's amazing.
Yeah.
She, I mean, I'm a little bit biased,
I've
but
heard some stuff on her. She's really good.
yeah,
You're you're not blowing smoke up anybody's skirt right there. No, she's
yeah.
very good.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
It's nice to see your child have something that. I mean, I always say doctors a lot of times give birth to other doctors, and
Mhm.
when in the military, I think a lot of kids just see what their parents are doing, and
Yeah.
it just feels natural to them to do it as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, I saw my mom and dad perform. My mom was a dancer. She came from the strict ballet dancer, way of life. And then she married my dad, and she met him on Australian Bandstand over in Australia, where I was born. and she was a dancer, and he was on there with my aunt, my sister. I mean, his sister, my aunt.
Yeah.
They had a duo together,
Oh my
and
gosh. This is like lineage here.
yeah. So his videos, my aunt's videos, they're on YouTube. And a lot of black and white videos of them on performing on TV in New Zealand and Australia.
Okay, so I'm checking that out when we're done here because
Yeah,
now
I'll
I'm
send you
super
the
intrigued.
links.
I love that.
Yeah.
I just love that it started so purely for you and that you still retain that value of the music from that purest sense. Because I think, like you said, there's different things that happen along our life and along our path that can allow us to get jaded. But and this being a job for you for how many years? Majority of your life. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I really haven't known anything else.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. I do want to ask you because I know a little bit about you. Before you moved to Nashville, you toured with Kylie Minogue.
I did. Yeah. That
What?
was fantastic.
I
I mean,
just can't get
I'm,
you out of my head. Yeah, yeah. There we go. All right, I'm done.
yeah, that's it. Yeah. She's had, I mean, Locomotion was
Right.
hilarious. That was a remake. And I just remember, it's funny. I was just doing a tribute to Randy Travis in Huntsville, Alabama, a couple weeks ago. And, I met him in like 1992 on the Kylie Minogue. I was touring with Kylie, and we were in Liverpool doing a tribute to John Lennon. So
Okay.
everyone who came out on the show, it was like Hall and Oates, Cyndi Lauper, Lenny Kravitz, Al Green, Randy Travis, Kylie. So the only country artist was Randy Travis, and I was like, "Oh, Randy Travis!" He was digging up bones, and I mean, I was just like, "Oh my gosh, it's Randy Travis!" So
Yes.
when I just saw him, for this tribute, I was like, "You won't remember me, but I remember you."
Yeah.
It was an incredible time in my life of wanting to get back to Nashville because I
Yeah.
lived in Nashville as a kid, and
Okay,
I'd
I didn't
grown
know
up.
that.
Yeah, I'd grown up singing country music, obviously with my family, but I'd never been able to come back and really concentrate on my own career.
Mm-hmm.
And being in Australia and then suddenly getting the Kylie tour, in my 20s, it was like, this is so much fun. I'm touring the world. I'm seeing and meeting all these people. But my ultimate goal was to get back to Nashville,
Okay.
make my own music, not be a background singer.
Yeah.
Come here, make my own music, and get some inroads back into Nashville.
Do you feel though, if you had skipped the step of backup singing with Kylie, do you think that your path would have been differently? How do you think your path might have been different if you hadn't done that part?
I think it would have been in Nashville a lot sooner.
Okay. Okay.
I think one of the things that, in youth, you think you have forever. And it doesn't feel like you need to hurry to get to anywhere. You just feel like, oh, I've got all the time in the world, and maybe I'll do this and maybe I'll do that. And all this seems fun,
Yeah.
But yeah, my goal was always to get to Nashville and get a record deal, get a solo deal. And, really, because I listened to Trisha Yearwood and Martina McBride and Winona and people like that. And I just knew, I love the fact that they were belters.
Yes.
And I was like, that's what I want to do. That's what I do is
Yeah.
I love to sing a song that's a challenge and it has, more than a 1 octave range. And
Yeah.
so always my goal, everybody, that I would, tell my story to and what I wanted to do, what my goals were, it wasn't to, be on tour with someone as a background singer or doing something for someone else. It was always to have my own country music, big rangy song career,
Yeah. To be you, basically.
Yeah, yeah. And I didn't know how much of a hand. I mean, I started writing songs when I was 18.
Okay.
But I never knew. I mean, a lot of back then in Nashville too, people had songs written for them. So I didn't know whether my songs were going to end up being the ones that got put out or who was going to be in charge. I mean, I was completely wide-eyed and naive when I got to Nashville this last time in 1996.
There's a puppy.
We have 2 dogs. It sounds like 6, but we have 2.
They're good.
If a leaf
Oh,
comes down, they bark.
they're on it.
Yeah.
They're protecting you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, how old were you when you made that like I'm here. I'm in Nashville. This is and I'm now putting all of my effort into this process for me.
30, 29, somewhere around.
Okay.
Yeah.
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 So, do you feel like you were ready for that? Because I feel like there's a lot of artists now, and maybe this is a picture looking back. Like you think about a lot of artists, people will move here and start that career and that process earlier and earlier and earlier.
Yeah.
And I know you said if the Kylie gig hadn't have happened for you, you would have moved to Nashville sooner. But do you regret the things that you've done to get to that point? Or do you think that maybe by starting at 29 or 30 that you had a little bit more experience under your belt? You said you felt maybe a little green or a little naive about some stuff, but
Yeah.
I mean, at
Well,
30,
first of all, I don't think it's, I kind of have one of those attitudes. It kind of drives my husband crazy, but because he calls it burying your head in the sand. But I have an attitude that if you can't change something, why would you let it eat you up? You know what I mean? And it's like,
okay.
I would never have a regret about that because I do believe things happen at the right time.
Mhm.
And when it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And like,
Mm.
even not sustaining or getting to, a Carrie Underwood level is not something that I would sit there and have sleepless nights over. Like, to me, that's such a waste of time
Yeah.
because I'm grateful for the success I've had.
Yes.
Plus, I'm a mom, which when I had my daughter, I feel like my ambition just shifted.
Yeah.
My what I wanted and who I wanted to be were completely night and day to who I used to be, and then pre and post Aaliyah. So
Yeah.
I do feel like I'm lucky to, I'll be playing this weekend, I'll be playing next weekend. Like, I'm lucky to be able to have a career where I can still sing and I can still love my job,
Mhm.
um, and I can raise my family and be in Nashville and working on new music and
Right.
producing outside people. So I do feel really lucky
Mhm.
in that. I don't know that and there's a lot of people that you'll meet that maybe might have like an unsatisfied, dissatisfied feeling of ambition because they've never had a hit record, so they're still
Mm.
striving, and
Mhm.
they're almost like not bitter, but like a little bit jaded
Mm.
because they can't believe it hasn't happened for them. And I feel like I don't have to feel that way because
Yeah.
I know what it feels like to be at the top of your game and to be having a hit record and to be doing all the things that I always wanted to do.
Yeah. It sounds like you don't have regret at all, which is a really beautiful place to be in.
Yeah, I mean, there's things I would do differently, but I wouldn't call it regret. Do you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's definitely like, oh, I wish I would have learned this on my journey. I wish everybody has that. I
Yes.
wish I would have learned this sooner. I wish this learning lesson hadn't been so painful.
Right.
You know what I mean? And those kinds of things happen on a daily, monthly, yearly basis for us
Correct.
all. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, one of my biggest things was right out of the chute when I had, a lot of success, I hurt my back. And I think you
Mhm.
know that just because I was
Mhm.
working out
Mhm.
um, with you guys,
Mhm.
and I ended up having to have back surgery.
Yeah.
And it was so painful because I was completely pulled thin when it came to my time
Yeah.
and, knowing which way to go. And I was canceling radio shows and it was devastating to me because
Yeah.
all my dreams were coming true. And, I was like newly married. I mean, it was just like everything was happening at once.
Yeah.
So definitely had very high anxiety at moments in my life. And I know
Yeah.
what that feels like. And I
Yeah.
know what it feels like to work through that and that kind of thing. So,
Yeah. Do you feel like you still have moments of that? Or do
oh,
you feel like you're all well, or do you feel like I should maybe say it probably looks a lot different now from
yeah.
the lens that you're looking at it now? Because you're still songwriting, you're still performing, and you're also producing as well.
Right.
So you're still involved in it. But I like listening to you, it's such a and maybe I'm being naive when I say this, but it's a really healthy approach, I believe, for to hear you saying that I was there, this happened, it was amazing. I understand the things about it, and I'm good where I'm at. and
Yeah.
you're at a place of personal satisfaction, maybe?
Yeah. I think for me, like if I couldn't perform anymore, I would be devastated.
Yeah.
If I couldn't make music and record and put new music out, I would be devastated. But I feel in this time that we're in as an artist, everything, a lot of things are DIY, and there's a lot
Mhm.
of independent artists. And on the one hand, there have never been so many artists and so much disposable, new things all the time. You got to learn, this TikTok and all these different apps to learn
Yeah.
social media. But at the same time, it's exciting because no one can tell you no. You can put it out no matter what.
It's
So,
very interesting that you said that, because I had a guest a couple weeks ago that we taped, and she was saying the same thing. She's like, we are in this day and age where you can create content and you
mhm,
can put your art out there. Like,
right.
you have that free more now than ever. We have that freedom to be able to express yourself from
Right.
that capacity and that creative reign and that creative side of you, which
Mhm.
is really, I think it's important for specifically souls that have that innate thing that, like, let's, call a spade a spade. That was innate in you. I think you were born into it. I would say that was sewn into your DNA, if you will.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
And I do think in some ways, the independent artists have it tough because it's
Mhm.
harder to get a record deal than it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
Um, it's easier to put things out, yes, but it's harder to get noticed in a certain way because there's so much competition.
Right.
And I've seen, it used to be called a 5-year town. I'll never forget, being told that, oh, it's a 5-year town.
Yeah.
I moved here in 1996 this last time, and I got my record deal at the end of 1999 going into 2000.
Okay.
So it was almost 5 years, really.
Yeah.
And it was like, wow. Well, now they've changed that. Now it's a 10-year town.
Oh gosh. Well, that
That's
makes
a lot of
sense.
time. So it's taking longer to get noticed, longer to get
Yeah.
where you want to be.
Do you
And
think
and the labels are more discerning about who they'll sign.
Yeah, I was just going to say, do you think that is a product of the fact that there's so much more talent available and that is out there? Or do you think it's because of the specifics that we want this, or we want this, or we want this, or maybe a little bit of both? I don't know.
Well, the landscape has changed so much because streaming,
Mm.
and also mixing together. There's not like, oh, this is definitely country music,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
that's pop. When I came out, I remember, like, even with Arizona, I didn't get played in Texas in the beginning for a long time. And I'm not really accepted in Texas because they really have a love of, red dirt country, and they
Yeah.
have their own Texas acts, and then like who they let in, they want to be more country.
Hmm.
But there's such a mix now across the board of what country music is. I mean, it's not just one kind of sound. There's like, everybody's on a playlist
Yeah.
together, someone who's very pop with finger snaps, or someone who's more Americana, or somebody who's acoustic, or what, it's just like, I kind of like that in a way. I mean,
Mhm.
it's there's good and bad about the way things are now. You're going to have complaints no matter what, you're going to feel frustrated probably no matter what, because nothing's ever perfect. But when I came
Yeah.
out, we were more heavily female. I mean, there was Jody Messina and Leanne Womack, Leanne Rhymes, Trisha Yearwood,
Yeah, you're
Martina
right.
Page. The list went on and on and on of all these females.
Yeah.
And now the female list is way shorter. But people who are fantastic and amazing artists like Lainey Wilson,
Yes.
are breaking through and rising to the top.
Yeah.
Ashley McBride, I mean, Haley Witters. There's so many great singer-songwriters,
Hmm.
female artists, badass women out there.
Mm. Hmm.
It's just great to see them making it to the top,
Yeah.
and there are more guys too. I mean, there's a lot more younger guys, and it's just like, hopefully there's room for everybody, and you just keep making great music. Keep your blinders on, because I mean, compare and despair. I've always said you have to
Oh,
make art
wow.
for yourself. You have to make
Compare and despair. Yeah. Dude, I love
I
that.
mean, because people will be like, oh, I don't know if I should do this, or they might not want that sound. It's like, if you are comparing yourself or trying to be somebody that's already out there, that we've already had so-and-so. It's not going to be authentic, and it's probably not going to work. I just think you have
Yeah.
to make music for yourself, and
Yes.
hopefully the followers and the listeners and the fans find you and, connect with you, because you're not alone usually. And like
Mhm.
when you write something, someone else goes, yeah, me too. I've
Yeah.
been through that exact same thing, and that's
Yeah.
when that connection to me is what it's all about. I mean, that was the most fascinating thing to me as a naive, like I said, artist who was just like, I'm going to go to Nashville. I'm going to get a record deal. I want to be like Dolly Parton, but I never
Yeah.
thought to myself, what is it going to feel like when that connection is made? What does
Oh,
it feel like to look at someone's face and have them sing my song back to me, or meet someone in a meet and greet and have them cry because they're like, I went through this, I went through that, and I related to your song. I was like, these feelings were just like
yeah.
over me. I never knew how emotional I was going to feel when that side of the job came towards me. I was like, this is the best. It's
Yeah.
like that to me is the most incredible gift of anything.
Yeah. It's being able to, it's like you said a little bit ago, it's connection. And
Yeah.
that's really what we're here to do is connect. So bravo for you for being able to do that.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank
Do you think that you've always been that artist that has been very true to yourself and like I'm going to be like you would encourage other artists to be, hey, be you. You have to make the music for you, especially in an age where there are, I mean, hey, I want a record deal. You tell me how I have to sing, how I have to stand, and I'll do it. I mean,
Yeah. No, well, I'm not going to say I know it all or knew it all or anything like that from the beginning. I think when you're young and in your 20s, you're finding out who you are and what you
yeah,
like. And
yeah,
I think I definitely was like, flailing around a little bit, like, who am I? What is this thing? What's it going to be? What's it going to look like? But at the same time, I have always been one of those kinds of people that I don't care if something's in fashion. Like if
mhm.
I like it and that's what I like to wear, I'm going to continue to do. Like I will have the same pair of Croc flip-flops for 20 years. You're going to see me in those Croc flip-flops. You're going to laugh because you're so old. I'm not going to buy what's trendy because it's like,
Yeah,
no, that's not me.
you're
Or
gonna do
ugly,
you.
something like that. Yeah, like or
Yeah.
hairstyles. Somebody said the other day, "Oh, gray is out." For
Okay.
design or whatever.
Okay.
Gray is out. It's so yesterday. And I'm like, I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
I like gray. I'm going to have gray.
Yeah.
I've never understood that, this is trending. So we got to go do this now. Like, well,
Yeah.
somebody had to start the trend.
Is your daughter like you in that way?
I think so. I think she wears and does what she pleases.
Mhm.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's refreshing because I don't think you're doing anything maliciously. You're just really living your life and you're living from
Yeah.
your center.
Right.
And a lot of finding your soul's goals, if you will, without me being cheesy here,
No,
is
I love that. I love that
oh,
name, by the way.
what? I'm sorry.
I love the name of your podcast. It's really,
Oh, thank
yeah.
you. But I think a lot of it is finding that center for who you
Mhm.
are and living authentically from it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, knowing who you are, and like you said, in your 20s, you're figuring out who you are.
Yeah.
So you moved to Nashville this last time, 29, 30 years old. How how hard was it? What were some difficulties that you faced in that 5-year town kind of time frame?
I think the biggest thing would be age and comparison to comments that, were made like you're kind of getting a late start, or,
Oh,
there's so many other females on the label. How do you feel being one of the other females? I'm like, I don't see, I just never really thought about it. Good is good, great is great, and bad is bad.
yeah.
And there's two types of music, good and bad. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, forget about gender, forget about age
Yeah.
and all that kind of thing. It's like if I wouldn't get out of bed if I thought that way all the time. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I just didn't. But the more and more people talked about it, the more I thought, this is really, effed up. This is like
Yeah.
skewed in a way that to me isn't positive. It's not
Yeah.
it's not a good thing to I hate to be raising my daughter in the world the way it is with how they emphasize certain things, like, the men make more money, or men
Yes.
or women, they play more men on radio. Like, I'm so glad, really, that that wasn't going on. I mean, it might have been going on, but it wasn't as talked about as much as it is
Yeah.
now. It wasn't
Yeah.
as in your face. And I do think things are changing. I think, women are being more accepted
Mhm.
across the board, that in what they can do.
Right.
Um, for everything from producers, and hopefully, I don't know if you saw that documentary that Gina Davis did, that
Oh,
was
no.
about, in behind the scenes,
Mhm.
how many women writers versus men writers, how many cartoon characters that your kids are watching every day are male characters, with like a
Mhm.
one or two females that are secondary characters to the
Yeah.
male characters. I hadn't even thought about that. Because again, like I said, call it naive, call it ignorant, whatever you want to
Mhm.
call it. I just
Mhm.
never thought in those terms
Yeah.
as a songwriter, as an artist, as a human.
Yeah.
But when someone points that out, it's interesting. Like, that does suck,
Yeah.
that that's the way it is.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's not necessarily, I love, again, I'm just going to go back to that point about it being, you have a really healthy look on all of that. The compare and despair, is that something that, I mean, have you always felt that way before you ever moved to Nashville? Did you like, I feel like raised in the household that you were in, with the music that you had and the stuff that you were doing, you were in the public eye basically, and the stuff that your parents were doing and the life you lived, it had to have instilled some traits from that place. Or do you think you get that from your mom or your dad, or just from your experience?
I think definitely both my parents are go-getters, and I
Mhm.
think they never spoke in terms of what if you don't make it. That was never really talked about, or you better go to college or anything like. It wasn't. There wasn't anything like that. It was all like, go for it. You can do this. You've got the talent. Whatever your passion is, that's what you should follow. That's where you
Mhm.
should go. And I mean, I do think that that was a great way, a little bit of a bubble to grow up in, because we
Mhm.
were on the road. So I wasn't going to school every day with kids my own
Oh,
age.
wow.
I was
Okay. Yeah.
always around adults, and
Yeah.
always with that feeling that nothing was impossible.
Yeah.
And I do think, for us, I feel like we've raised our daughter that way, being on the road with us, coming out and singing, and, giving her a guitar at 12 because she wanted
Mhm.
one, like, write songs. You can do anything you want to do. You can make any story up. Even if you haven't experienced it, you can imagine what it's like and write from an imaginary place.
Yes.
And I think the sad thing is, it's kind of like the Disneyland thing. Like, your kids are only going to believe in Disneyland and the magic and the fairy tale as long as they're allowed to foster that and believe in that. But
Yeah.
the minute that they get out there in the world, they're going to get knocked around out in the world anyway. So
Mhm.
let's try to have them not get knocked around, for as long as we can. But when you see that go away, and you realize that, some of that, what I would call negative thinking, when it starts to creep in, and you see that, it's I hate it.
Yeah.
And that's really makes me sad, because
Yeah.
I do think that, you know, you have to believe in yourself, and you have to do it for yourself,
Yeah.
and you have to keep doing it and do it your way. And then eventually, I feel like the audience, you'll find your rightful audience.
Yeah.
Like, you find your right friends, you
Mm,
find
yeah.
friends that, have your back. And that's it's tough to go through school and everything and see your kids,
Mm.
the drama, the
Oh.
middle school drama, and then the
Ugh.
high school stuff and all that, and you see them get
Yeah.
their hearts broken. But I just think it's important. Like, I've told my daughter, if you're not having fun and you're not happy, then you're doing the wrong thing. Like, if you're
Yeah.
not having fun at it and it becomes like a job, then you should be doing something else.
Yeah. What is she majoring in school?
Music business.
Okay. Let's go.
And songwriting. I mean, obviously, she's already writing songs and playing
Yeah.
guitar and everything, but her
That's
major.
great. Well, you said, it's the belief part. Somebody said this the other day when we were talking. It's whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
that's so
so
true.
like it's the thought process that you put yourself into. Like, so let me ask you, when you get in a place where you're having a rough day or a rough week or a rough month, whatever it is, what do you do? How do you call upon that place? Because I look at you as you're a very matter of fact individual. And I think I like that because it's
I
a
guess. Thank you.
yeah, it's not it's you know where you well how you feel about certain things, you know where you stand about certain things, which is really, again, I used the term earlier, refreshing, because
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have a really hard time getting to that point. And maybe that's also a testament to the fact that, yeah, like you said, when you were a kid, you were around a lot of adults. So you're kind of in
Mhm.
that world of kind of being in that place where you can do anything and you're associating, you're speaking with them and you're learning from them at a very early age. Um, eh, how do you think the music industry is going in terms of all of that? Do you think it's headed in a positive direction for
Oof, I wish I knew, you know. I really do. I can't say. I mean, I'm not in it enough as like an artist who's say got a record deal. They might have something totally different going on and I just really wouldn't know, you know. I mean,
Okay.
I try to, I mean, I have my Spotify for Artists app on my phone,
Mhm.
you know, and Apple and wherever, you know, I can go in and I can do a lot of stuff that I never would have believed this old brain could figure out. You know, I do a lot of like graphics and things like that, and
Yeah.
I love to watch the Spotify playlists and get on the playlists and
Yes.
so you know technically speaking that the digital side of things has changed so much.
Mhm.
And it's just exciting to have anyone accept your music and see people streaming a song or
Yeah.
one more than the other and you think, oh, they're really liking this song,
Yeah.
that's really cool.
Gives you information too, and you
Oh,
know
yeah,
a little
you
bit
can see
more.
cities. You can see the cities where you're being played more.
Yeah.
You can, the countries where you're being Shazammed. I mean, all that kind of thing. That's really interesting to me because back in the day, you never would have known. You
Yeah.
know,
Do you think that's a plus or a minus?
I think it's a plus.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely do.
Um, and in terms of the music industry shifting, like you were saying a little bit ago, I think things are like the landscape is kind of shifting and the ideas are kind of changing a little bit. Do you think it's headed in a good place for artists and like as in support of
I
artists?
mean, good and bad. I think, like I would write with someone that was a younger, newer writer, and they might say something to me like, oh, they're not really writing, they don't put bridges in songs that much anymore, and that would be like, I'd be like, you know what? Some of my favorite songs, the bridge is my favorite part. I
Yeah.
love a good bridge in a song. I love it when the bridge takes you somewhere completely where you haven't been,
Yeah.
and the listener isn't bored because it doesn't go verse, chorus, breakdown, chorus, and always do the same thing. But
Yeah.
so there's a way of songwriting that has changed and been brought into Nashville, I believe, because a lot of pop people moved here. And
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think with it brought some good things and some not so good things.
Mhm.
Just because I love learning to write in Nashville,
Mhm.
writing 101 and sitting with these big writers in a room and having them tell me this is the way it works. And
Mhm.
if you use an A rhyme in the first verse, don't use an A rhyme in the second verse.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of those rules went out the window because the younger people, first of all, a lot of songs would get cut back to like 2.5 minutes long or 3 minutes tops. Because if
Mm.
you do that, they're going to change and skip your song on streaming, and then you're not going to get the stream
If it's
because
too long?
next song if it's too long.
Yeah.
So, or solos get taken out because oh my god, you got to back in the day it was like, oh, you got to hear this kick-ass dobro solo, a dobro and then a fiddle solo, and
Yeah.
now it's like, nope, we don't have time for a solo, straight to the singing.
Wow. Do you
So there's
miss like
all the
well, I mean, I think about that and I'm like, "Wow, that makes me sad."
yeah, I think that's one area where I'm just like, that's a shame. Dang, that is a shame
Yeah,
because
because
some
it's
of the
someone's
most
creation.
Yeah, but the best songs to me, the most well-crafted songs have been right here in Nashville, and
Mhm.
songwriters that really know how to tell you a story and
Oh,
set
yeah.
up that story,
Yeah.
with backstory, and then describe and take you there in that moment and describe what it's like.
Yeah.
And and someone once said, in country music, they're going to tell you why they're telling you this. And in
Oh.
pop music, it's a lot of like the emotion, like I feel, I feel, I feel. But in
Mhm.
Nashville, it's like, here's the story. This is what happened. This is how, this is why, this is why I'm feeling this way. But instead, in pop, it's more the constant emotion of the feeling in the moment.
Yes,
So, I mean,
absolutely.
there's always going to be a difference. If you go back to
Mhm.
some of the older country records, years and years back, I mean, it's just some of the best songs
Mhm.
me that I will love for my lifetime.
Do any of your songs cross over?
Did any of mine?
Uh-huh.
Not really. I mean, I had the song in Bridget Jones' Diary, the movie, all
Oh,
by
that's right.
myself. So that would
Yes.
be like that would be more considered pop.
Yeah.
And it was used in a commercial over in the UK. And so I have a lot of family over there, and I'd be like, "Oh, you're on this commercial, 10 times a day with this song." So that was good. I love hearing that.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, who if this is a question I didn't, like, send you, but I'm just gonna since you're talking about songwriting, do you have a favorite songwriter?
Not a favorite. Gosh, I have so many favorite songwriters here in Nashville. I mean, Gretchen Peters comes to mind. I just love
Mhm.
her. She
Mhm.
just put out a statement about songs and songwriting and quality over quantity, and I thought it was just a brilliant statement that
Yes.
every young artist in Nashville should read this statement from Gretchen
Yes.
Peters, because
Okay.
it's an important message. It's an important thought. I love Tim Nichols is one of my favorite. Jeffrey Steele,
Yeah.
Lee Miller. Recent. I'm trying to think of recent writers I've been in the round with my jaw to the floor.
Yeah.
With some of the songs they've written and the stories behind the songs. I love
Mhm.
hearing that.
Mm.
I
Mhm.
love being there, like the Bluebird situation.
Mhm.
You can hear
When
how
you
songs be.
when you write a song, do you do that? Do you go on experience or do you go kind of like what you told your daughter? Like you can write about anything. You can, if you haven't lived it, you can write about what you make of it or
Yeah.
what you believe
I
about it.
I think a little of all of the above. I mean, like for my first album, some of those songs were written from the perspective of I was just starting to date my now husband
Mhm.
back then. So I think you can listen to, when I think about Angels or Shiver or anything from the first album and get a sense of someone falling in love and being like obsessed with this person.
Yes.
And I think a lot of that happened. And then, as life evolved and I went through some of the things postpartum after I had my baby, I wrote
Mhm.
Brave.
Mhm.
Um, I Love My Life, that was about, family life and somebody's hero.
Yeah.
So I think definitely from that perspective of different chapters of my life, because
Yeah.
I'll look back at, I'm sure you do too, like things you did and said in your 20s and go, I don't even relate now.
Yeah.
I don't even relate.
Yeah. So look at your daughter and like listen to her talking to you about stuff and go, oh my gosh, if only she would know that in 30 years from now, this is going to be, you know,
None of this will matter.
trivial. It won't matter. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
But you
amazing.
can't
But
tell that 20-year-old that. They
you
have to live
really
it.
can't. You have to go through it yourself. It's just like trying to tell someone who says I'm not going to have kids, like, oh, you
Mhm.
really should have kids. They're never going to feel what it's like, because when it's your own child, it's like everything changes. But if
Yeah.
you can't miss and have a feeling of loss if you've never had it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So they're not
Yeah.
going to be like, oh, I missed out on motherhood. But if they could slip into your shoes and feel it for 5 minutes, they would never pass it up.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Um, so with the ebb and flow of your career, basically, since you've been here in Nashville, to quantify that, what would you say the most challenging time frame has been for you? Was it initially when you moved and started your work here? Was it in the middle of it? Is it
I think
now?
in the start of my success, like I was saying, like
Mhm.
things were really exploding. And right then, putting everything in perspective, my grandfather was diagnosed with cancer. And
Mm.
so my wedding was happening. I was planning my wedding. My grandfather had cancer. My aunt had cancer.
Ah,
My song was going up the charts. And I had all this pain and
that.
grief and
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
shock,
Mhm.
major shock.
Mhm.
And yet so happy that I was getting married, but yet really trying to focus on new music coming out.
Mhm.
And publicists like in my ear going, don't talk about anything negative. I think it's difficult. Back then, they really emphasized only staying on the positive, only talking
Mhm.
about your album, bringing everything back to the product, the product, the product.
Yeah.
Social media training tells you that. Always bring something back to yourself. Always talk about yourself.
Yeah.
Always talk I terms and not we terms and things like
Yes.
that. And going through that and everything and trying to shove down all my emotions, really, that was so toxic, you
Yeah.
know. And
Do you,
now we live in a stage where we can say anything and talk about anybody. And,
right.
almost too much so, because I feel like it's, I was
Yeah.
listening to Ricky Gervais the other day, and he's so incredibly hilarious.
Yes, he is.
But he was talking about cancel culture, and I
Mm.
hadn't thought about this from this perspective, but I think it's a great, thought to have out there, that it's okay if you don't like something and you
Mhm.
don't have to buy it, you don't have to listen to it, you don't want to
Mhm.
see it. But it's not okay to bully other people
Yeah.
into not buying it, not seeing it, not, because you're trying to control what they do based on
Yeah.
your own feelings.
Yes.
That's not okay. And I
Mhm.
totally agree with that.
Mhm.
I would have hated to have been out. Can you imagine some of the things that, maybe we've, been drunk or whatever
Yeah.
it is that you may have done, to know that it would now be all just like splashed all over video and on TikTok and on, just
All
whatever for
over.
everyone to see
Yeah.
and for everyone to point at, and it's just, that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel really glad that wasn't going on,
Yeah.
for me when I was younger.
Even with what you were talking about, being told that this is what we need to stick to, this is what you need to say. I mean, that's still not as much as I think what some of the artists are facing in this day and age, I guess. Do you,
Right.
if your daughter continues on the path that she's on, do you see her going the same route as you as a singer-songwriter?
I think that remains to be seen. I feel like music is so important to her, but
Mhm.
on her terms,
Yeah.
which is a good thing. She knows who she is. She knows what she wants to say. Um, she's not. She's different day to day, depending on her mood or whatever. It's like one day it's, I might want to do psychology, or
Yeah.
I might want to do this. And it's like, this is the great thing about college. You're figuring it out.
Yes. For sure.
Like, for me, there was never any other thing that I wanted to do.
Mm.
But she has a lot of things that she loves. And
Mhm.
she has a definite right brain, left brain.
Okay.
I barely have any brain, but it is all in creativity. It's like, that is it. That's all I do, is just create and think about what I can create. And I
Yeah.
just, I love to make jewelry. I love to do things that are, like that kind of thing. And she's very type A. She's
Mhm.
has a business, a brain. She says, an academic, I guess. So she
Okay.
likes to study different things and learn about different things. And that's not me. Like, if I'm free time, I'm probably watching a movie or
Okay.
whatever.
Well, it's that creative vein that you're talking about, the creative brain, and that's where you're
Yeah.
from.
Yeah.
Would you change anything about any of that? Would
For
you,
me or for her?
for you, would you go back and say, if I could mix this potion and mix that potion and go, here it
Yeah.
is?
Oh, I'm sure I would. Yeah. I feel like I would love to have studied something and been
Mhm.
focused enough, because I'm a little bit ADD. I'm a little bit like, out with the fairies kind of thing. So
Well,
I feel like I wouldn't. I was in class. I was terrible. I was a terrible student. I'd either fall asleep. I'd be so bored. I didn't want to
yeah,
learn. I didn't want to pick up a book. I was just like, no,
yeah,
don't make me do it. That kind
yes.
of thing.
And
So,
so
but she's definitely like her dad, because
I
he is a brainiac.
Just gonna say that Rod he's a sound engineer as well as he's a musician and a singer as well. Yeah, that's how
Right.
you guys met, correct? Like he
But
was
he's able
playing.
to retain the technical side of things, and he's able
Mhm.
to, he went to Belmont, by the
Okay.
way.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So yeah, so he has that side of her where he loves to learn. They love
Yeah.
to learn new stuff. Not me. I don't want to. Like, don't tell me. Just let me do my thing. I don't need to learn. Forget about that.
Yeah. Yes. If you had to give up one or the other, being able to vocalize and sing or be able to create by songwriting, which one do you think you would, if somebody was saying you have to choose?
Oh, well, I hope they never do, but I would say definitely I would not want to give up singing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Singing is my first love. Yeah.
Yeah. It's where you started.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
So where you are now is a much different place than when you and I were together. Like you were saying, you were exploding on the scene, so much going on. Um, where's your career now? You're happy with the way things are. You just are getting ready to release a Christmas album, I know, right? Like that's
So Friday, well, I will say it's out now.
yes. Oh, that's right. Yes. Because we
Yeah.
will we will be putting this out in a few weeks. Yes.
Yeah.
So what's
So
the name of it?
My Christmas album came out in 2022. It's
Mhm.
called Spirit and Joy.
Okay.
And now what's out is the deluxe version of it, which has two new songs on it. A duet with Ty Herndon called
Yes.
Merry Christmas Baby,
Uh-huh. Saw that.
and Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas.
Yeah.
So, and then we have, some fun lyric videos and live in the studio video.
Oh.
And so that's my focus. And then obviously I'm playing shows through November and December,
Yeah.
with Christmas. The main thing will be the Christmas show.
Yeah.
And then January, I've got new music coming out in the first of the year as well. I have a whole new album.
Oh,
So
Jamie, oh my
yeah,
gosh.
yeah.
Can you share anything about it? Or just
Well, what's cool to me is I really went back in the vault,
okay.
as Taylor says.
Yes.
And I found so many songs that I was able to just have the freedom to record, because back when I had my record deal, it was like, no, that one's to this or that one's to that, or, oh, but I love it. I want to do it. So half of the album is really about those songs, the ones
Oh
that
man.
I am so glad I can finally put out, that I
Yes.
love, that are really country.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that it's I think a lot of people would find it really hard to believe that, oh, they look at you as this great artist and they think, oh, well, she's putting out amazing music. So the music she's putting out is the stuff that she wants to put out because that's just what
Yeah.
she's doing.
Mhm.
So I think people would find it hard to believe what you just said that, oh, I'm going to put out stuff that I wasn't able to put out. So
Right. Well, and two, it's like someone might love a song here better than they like this one, but
mhm.
you don't, as a newer artist too, you don't always get to choose. Even the photo
Mhm.
that, it's like, I want to use this photo. No, we're going to use this photo. So that's the thing about the having a record deal. There's a lot of voices with opinions and
Yeah.
votes going into everything.
Yes.
The one I'm on right now, I'm on a label that's like for independent. It's like a partnership.
So you have more freedom to be able to create and to put out the things that are truly you.
Right. Yeah, exactly. No, I
Yeah,
love that part of it. It's a
which is
lot
great.
of creative freedom.
So we have the Christmas album, and then after the first of the year, we have a great new album coming out. Yee! I'm
Yeah, I'm so
excited.
excited.
Are you redoing any of the songs that you had on your first album? Like from the
So I
vault?
redid that in 2020. In 2020, I went back and recorded There Is No Arizona with Lauren Elena as a
Okay.
duet. I recorded When I Think About Angels with Martina McBride,
Mm.
Atlantis with Sarah Evans, and that came out in 2020. And then John Paul White sang on a brand new song. And I
Oh,
sang Somebody's Hero with my daughter as a duet.
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, and that
So
was
that
on
was the silver lining for 2020 for me was,
yeah.
getting to work on a brand new album, but record my hits in a new way,
Yes.
with some of my favorite artists,
Yes. Well, how was that like singing with Martina?
Oh,
How was it the first time you met her?
Oh, we were on tour together for the Girls' Night Out tour in 2001.
Okay. And that
Yeah.
like that you were talking about like you used to listen to her stuff when you were in Australia and she was like
Oh, yeah.
it.
So I was completely intimidated, and getting to hear her voice in person.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. 'Cause we would come out at the end of the night on the tour, and the finale, we would all sing together. And that was just like the
Mm,
best thing that's ever happened, was getting to sing with artists that you looked up to for so long. And
mhm.
still do. I still look up to her. She's been so sweet and
Yeah.
so helpful to me in my career. I can't say enough
Oh,
about her. She's really, really sweet.
and
And
that's
Reva's great too. And Sarah. I mean, they're great women. They're great role models for other women, and
yeah.
they're strong and inspirational and unafraid. Fearless. And I
Yeah.
think that is what it takes. Is like, if you wake up and you just think, I can't do anything else. This is all I want to do. You'll find a way to do it. And if
Mm.
you
Mhm.
if you feel afraid, I just think you have to do it more. It's like practice. Practice makes perfect.
Yeah.
I think that fearful feeling can be a good thing. You can turn that into, that must mean that you really want to make it happen, you
Yeah,
know?
it's meaningful to you, and then when you
Yeah.
do achieve something, then it's the fulfillment that you receive from that is
Yes.
just amazing. The feeling is amazing. Yeah.
Yes.
Um,
Absolutely.
and for those women to be advocates for other women, like, that's a big thing too. That's another thing that I've heard about those specific women that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And in terms of them being role models, like, they advocate for other women in the industry, and they're not, closing out other artists. They're like, "Hey, let's, like, there's more than enough.
Yeah.
We have to stick together, and we have to encourage each other." And I would say that, I mean, could we count you in that part too? Because you're inspirational on this whole path just as much as anybody else, by you living your true path and
Um,
saying, "Yeah, this is who I am, and this is what I do, and
yeah.
this is I'm unapologetic about the fact that this is what I bring to the table, and
Yeah.
this is where I come from."
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to pay it forward, and like someone
Mhm.
was there for you in the early days, and if you can be there for someone else,
Yeah,
super.
yeah. Oh, where do you want to be, let's say 5 years, 10 years from now? I'll give you the choice.
Well, still touring for sure. I mean, I
Okay,
feel so grateful to have gone with a new agency last year, and more and more shows are coming, and it's
great.
just been fantastic the last couple of years. So
Yeah.
definitely touring, still making new music, playing on the Opry. It's pretty much the same thing I'm doing now. And I
Yeah.
just want my daughter to be close by, and, my dogs to be healthy. I,
Yes.
my parents, please, to be healthy. And
Yeah.
that's the important thing.
Do you take your puppies with you when you tour?
Not really. Chelsea's now, 12 and a half.
Mm,
And,
mhm.
it definitely gets harder. It's more challenging for
Yeah.
sure. If I were on the bus all the time, I think they would go. But flying, I usually do fly dates.
Oh, yeah.
Super
That's a
hard.
whole other
And I've got
situation.
I've got barkers now. They would just wake up the whole hotel. Unfortunately.
Yeah, they would be like, "Arr!"
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I think mine would too. I've never flown with my dogs. I can't imagine. It would just be a nightmare. Ugh.
Yeah. Definitely not easy.
No, not easy at all. Well, I want to wrap up with some fun rapid fire questions, just to kind of get
Let's do
another
it.
little side of your personality. So
Okay.
there's no wrong answers to these.
Okay.
None at all. None at all. All right. So first question, what is your favorite word in another language?
Oh, well, I was in Indonesia for 3 months,
Oh,
and I did learn terima kasih, which is thank you.
okay. Say that again.
Um, terima kasih. I don't even know how to spell
Tadimakasi.
it.
Okay.
Terima kasih.
Okay.
So if you ever go over there, you need to know how to say that.
Yes.
That was always, I thought that was a funny word. I can't think of anything else now.
Well, you want to know something that
Namaste? Namaste. That's not another language, though, is it?
do you
I told you I wasn't schooled.
It's all good. Well, I'm going to show you just how schooled I am. I'm probably going to sound super, super naive here when I say this, but you're from Australia. You don't have the accent that I would think normal Australians were. You never did. Like when I met you 23 years ago, you didn't. So
I
what's
know.
that
Well,
about?
I was raised over here. It is very confusing. I was raised in the States, brought
Okay.
here when I was like 4 years old.
Uh,
Then I went back and I lived in Australia for many years. So I never really did get a heavy, heavy Australian accent.
they probably thought over there that you were like God,
Oh,
what?
American. Yeah. Yeah.
You're from here?
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Next question. What do you collect, if anything? And if you don't, what would you choose to collect and why?
What do I collect? Well, I love candles.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's really considered a collection because, of course, as soon as they're burned out, you're throwing them away. But
Yeah.
I definitely do not like to run out of candles. That's for
Yes.
sure. That would
There's a
be
great candle. I'm going to text it to you. It's a company called Saint Candles. I had a girlfriend, look them up. I'll send you the link. Saint.
okay.
And they, all their proceeds go to St. Jude Children's Hospital.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
fantastic.
And they are amazing. I got one of these for my birthday and I burn it in my office all the time. And it's my whole room just smells amazing. So yeah, I'm going to send
Oh,
you,
I love that.
sending you that candle link. It's a good one. All right.
Okay.
Number 3, were any of the songs that you wrote specifically for someone in particular?
I think definitely Shiver was written for my husband.
Oh, for
Sure.
Rod. Yeah. Oh, how is he doing, by the way? Is he good?
He's doing great, as crazy as ever.
He's awesome.
Yes, he's out right now playing a gig with Aaliyah.
Oh, fun.
We'll do like 4-hour sets, and she needs her dad to help her on guitar. Like she plays too, but
Yeah.
she likes the extra guitar. So he's a great dad.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And I love that they get to do that together. That's a
Yeah.
bond for sure.
Absolutely.
And when they're done, then they can talk, they can open up a book and read together and like be like studious and learn things.
Exactly.
With the cerebral, the other
Go
side of their brain.
study. Yeah, exactly.
They can
Go do
study.
a quiz.
Yes, they can quiz each other. All right. Number 4. Where was your first date with your husband?
Oh my gosh. I think we went to the Boundary.
Why is that's not
Remember
there
the
anymore?
Boundary? It's not there anymore. No,
I
unfortunately.
remember going there. Yeah.
I know, I love that place. We went to the Boundary all the time.
Yeah.
Pretty sure
Great
that's where
dinners.
either that or the Cooker. Remember the Cooker?
How could I forget?
Yeah. So he and I
Yes.
used to go there for lunch. So I don't know if we had a lunch date or a dinner date.
How did you guys
Isn't that
meet?
awful? I can't remember. We met in the studio. He was a studio engineer and I was singing a demo.
Oh my gosh. Was
Yeah.
it love at first sight?
I think so. I definitely felt that lightning bolt of this person's something special. For sure.
Oh,
I don't know if he felt it or not, but
well, that's okay. You're together 20 plus years later. You're still together.
27 years.
Gosh, Jamie, that's amazing.
27 years.
When's your anniversary? Is it coming up or did you just have it?
August 26th.
Oh.
Yeah. So we've been together for 27 years because we dated for 4 years till I dragged him kicking and screaming down the aisle. What about you guys?
Yeah, it's 1998.
There you go.
Right there with you,
So-
girlfriend.
Me and I met in 96. So right, you guys are like slightly behind us.
Yes, we're all in that same vein together.
Late
Oh,
90s.
Look, the 90s. Gosh. All right, I got one more good one for you. If given the chance to start your life over again, would you take it?
See, that's a difficult question because it's
Mhm.
like, would I still end up with my family?
Ah.
Because if not, then I'd have to say no.
Yeah. Yeah. If I guess maybe not knowing what the trajectory would be, would you do it? If you didn't know, you would say no.
Yeah.
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 Well, I think that's great because it tells a lot about your character and the fact that even through my tough times, I would still repeat them
Right.
because this is the life that I've built and this is a life I love.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
That's what counts.
oh. Well, I missed you so much, and I am so glad
You too, and I'm so glad this finally worked out. I know we had some hiccups in the beginning.
It's all good. And I
But
just
it's happening. It's happened. We did it.
we did it. We did it. We made the computers talk to each other. It's working. Yes.
Yes.
I'm so proud of us. We did it.
I know. Thank you so much for having me on today, Dawn.
You are so welcome, Jamie. As always, anytime. I'm going to text you that candle information when we hang up.
Okay.
And I can't wait to see this new album after the first of the year. It's going to be spectacular. I
Thank you
can't
so much.
wait.
I can't wait.
Oh,
Thank you so
well,
much.
have a great evening, Jamie.
You too.
Bye, girl.
Bye.
Thanks so much for tuning in today, guys. If you have an idea for an interview or you would like to share your own story, I would love to hear from you. Send me a message at dawn@thesoulgoals.com. If you enjoyed today's podcast, I'd love for you to leave a review and to consider following and subscribing to the show. With weekly releases, there is always another interesting story to be heard. I do hope that today's guests and their words have helped to bring some extra light to your day and encouraged you to find a deeper space of your very own soul goals. Until next time, friends, remember that everyone has a story and every story matters.